So, what did we just watch? Basically, you saw a little working demo on me trying to make myself seasick. But let me show you how this scene was put together. We're just looking at wireframe mode of the good ship Oro, or if it's a slaver ship, the not so good ship Oro. And we'll just play through it here. So there's a lot of wireframe action going through here, and basically it's a camera mounted inside something, and the big polygon right in the middle is a stone, and all the camera is doing is tracking the stone. And the reason why it does that is to get rid of any sudden movements due to rotation of the camera. So let's take a more field view of what the good ship, or not so good ship Oro looks like. And basically there it is. So we have a terrain. Let's just get a bit more space there. Here we have a terrain. The ship is actually just a couple of cylinders booleaned out. So I'm looking from inside a hollowed out couple of cylinders through a porthole. Let me just isolate some of this model detail so we can get a bit clearer here. Through the porthole there, which is this little cylinder, couple of cylinders there, and yeah, the camera is mounted inside it. And probably the most important thing about this whole rig is that virtually everything is parented together except for the boolean objects that are required to cut out stuff to make the shapes. So what I mean by that is that let's see, the hull of this whole ship, I think this is the hull that we have selected. Yes, it is. The hull is made up of a couple of cylinder booleans. The porthole frame is modeled out of a few more cylinders, and that's part of the hull as well, but the porthole has its own material, so that makes it all nice and funky. And that is really the ship, and everything else is parented to it. So the camera is parented to the hull. There's the floating stone there that is also parented to the hull. Let's just get the stone back up here. There it is, this little pinky dude here. This big circular thing here is actually a large meta ball. I was actually toying with the idea of doing what fellow Bryce User Mermaid was doing, and putting raindrops on the pane, but putting raindrops on a pane is in fact a real pain. It takes quite a bit of time, and I thought, no, Oro, you're trying to do particle physics. What are you trying to do here? Stop it. And so I just left the pane as it was and carried on with the basic model. But again, this big circular metal ball is not boolean or anything. It's parented to the hull. The stone's parented to the hull, and everything is more or less and you might see here, and let me just zoom in a little quietly here, this little ball is actually a light, and the origin of this light, and I'll see if I can just isolate the light here. It's radial one. Yes, this one here. The origin of this light has been taken out of the actual sphere and put it outside. That way, when I rotate it, it will swing from side to side. So just looking at this particular object here, if we go into the AML, what I have here is a very short rotational pattern. Here it is. Take a look at the radial. I could have gotten rid of all this stuff, but there it is. That's the rotation thing, all there. That's the only thing that animates on that light. And all this is for making the light swing like this. And it just keeps going on and on and on for a period of, I don't know, 90, maybe 120 odd frames. And that just goes on forever. And most of the movement that you see in this particular model is all about periodic or looping movement. Virtually everything is looped. The bobbing up and down of the hull is looped. The stone oscillation that goes, it just sort of wiggles around on the spot quite a bit, is looped. Even the movement of the geometry of the mesh and the movement of the mesh is looped. And here's one of the highlights I like about modeling, and that is the detail of the model is really centered in the hull, and I want to keep that stationary. So what happened is I just made the C move. So as you see this model move, here it is in its third body perspective, the hull is actually just moving on the spot. It's just rotating basically. This gives you the illusion that the sea is rolling underneath the hull. So it's not moving. The sea itself is actually moving. It's going to the left, it's going to the right, it's going all over the place. And the reason why I do this is because it's easier to see what is actually going on in my central model. You can maybe just barely make out the large pyramid of the camera going in, going out, moving around and tracking this ball that's floating around in the hub. Let's just move this around a bit, get a different view here. And come a bit closer. Right, actually what I might do, let's see if I can try this quickly. I'll try soloing the camera. Select the camera, and I'll select porthole. Where's the porthole? Here it is. I'll try soloing that. Oh, that cuts down quite a bit. Good. So if I was to play this, oops, come on, here we go. You can really see all the mechanics of the movement. There's your light swinging back and forward. The camera, you see the blue tracking dots, or the movement dots just here for the camera. It's just moving in and out, wobbling around, and it's tracking the ball, which I haven't selected, which is why you're not seeing it, but the ball is just hovering around about here. So it just makes it very easy to not get lost on where your model is in a movement by essentially moving the world rather than your model. Okay, so here's another view, a little director view of the entire model in action. It goes for about 24 seconds, I think, and you can see that the geometry of the sea is changing, although you don't really notice it. And the reason why you don't notice it in the final animation is because everything is moving. The camera is moving relative to the hull. The stone, which is hidden, is positioning the camera to keep the head moving, if you like, the point of view moving as it goes through the porthole. Of course, the port itself, or the ship itself, is rolling. The lightning flashes, which is what this large ball is solely trying to do. I think it goes off when the position gets to around about here-ish. The light, the swinging light inside the cabin, is also going left and right, just to keep the shadows within the compartment moving. And all of it is trying to combine together to give it a very live, uncontrolled movement, because part of the story that I'm trying to tell here is that this is an uncomfortable journey. The person looking out through the porthole is dazed, confused. Their only connection with the outside world is through this minuscule portal on a landscape they've never seen before. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, and no one should ever have to go through this.